Chapter 23 of Puss in Boots, Jr. and Tom Thumb. Gingerbread House. The little man, whose bullets were made of lead, as soon as the meal was over, leaned back in his chair and said, "My good Sir Cat, you look like a great traveler. Will you not tell us a story? My good wife Joan and I will be most attentive listeners." Puss curled his whiskers reflectively for a few minutes. "What sort of a story would you like?" he asked. "An exciting one, or something homelike?" "Something homelike," said the little man. "Something exciting!" cried his wife. "I have so much of home that I would hear something different." "Just like a woman," said Puss to himself. "They are much alike. Yet what she says is reasonable. Too much of any one thing grows stale." "What were you saying?" asked the little man. "Never mind," interposed his good wife, whose ears were sharper than his. "We will have a story of adventure," and she smiled at Puss, who, after folding his napkin, settled himself back in his chair and commenced his story. One fine morning, as I was walking along with a small owl for a comrade, the very same little owl who had rescued me from the giant of the beanstalk, I came to a queer-looking cottage made of gingerbread in the midst of a thick forest. Feeling a bit hungry, I broke off a tiny piece, when I heard a voice say, "What is that? A little mouse nibbling pieces from my house?" And then all of a sudden the door opened, and I saw an ugly witch. She was leaning on a crutch. Her eyes were very black and bright, and her nose long and crooked. "Come in, my dears," she said. "You must not eat up my house, for where then would I live? Come in, and if you are hungry, I will give you something to eat." I accepted her invitation, but the little owl stayed outside. I had my trusty staff with me, you see, and so I wasn't afraid. No sooner had I entered than I knew she was a very wicked old woman. A poor little child, whom she called Gretel, was crying in a corner of the room. "Get this fine cat something to eat," cried the wicked witch, giving her arm a pinch. At this moment my little friend the owl flew into the house and whispered in my ear, "There's a little boy locked up in the stable. He says his sister is in here." "We will rescue them," I answered, "but be careful." End of chapter 23. Recording by Diane Castillo.